Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending. This is a business meeting open to members of the Nepenthe Association and guests of the board. The Nepenthe Board of Directors is a policy board, and the role of the general manager is to oversee the day-to-day operations. The primary purpose of this meeting is to ensure that the association is meeting its responsibility. We had quite a long executive session today, and the board approved in executive session CPR proposal 1359 Commons Drive siding, trim, and repairs. Then we approved 403 Dunbarton fencing. 1359 in the amount of $232.74. 403 Dunbarton fencing in the amount of $4,139.23. Then the board approved the Grove tree care proposal, Zone 7 tree work in the amount of $7,560. There was a Carson landscape proposal in the amount of $26,520 that we tabled at this point. Then we approved the fencing proposal from JWS. The fencing wire mesh installation at Dunbarton and Clubhouse in the amount of $1,801.81. The fencing extension installation of the fence around the existing fencing to prevent jumping on the roof. So that's the Dunbarton and the main Clubhouse area, $1,957.65. And then we approved the electronic door push button from 3D Technologies, push button for the door at the Clubhouse. This is the main door in the amount of $1,562.24. And maybe Nicole is going to elaborate on that a little bit later on, or do you want to say something right now about that?
Sure. So basically, we've had some security concerns here at the Clubhouse. It's twofold. So we've had security concerns for staff here and random people walking into the Clubhouse and being very suspicious and doing weird things and with staff here. And it's making our security be a question, our safety be a question. And also, we have seen during the summer specifically, a lot of people come through the Clubhouse that I can't automatically identify as a resident. So if you were to walk into our Clubhouse from Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., you can just walk through the front doors and you can walk straight to the pool without being a resident here. And so this would have the Clubhouse doors be locked and be accessible by your access card. In the event you do not have an access card, that's why this proposal came into place. And there will be a push button installed under Trayvon's desk to where he can open that door. And so that whoever it is can come in so that the staff is safe. So that's that.
Thank you. Then the board met in executive session on September 12th. The board discussed and approved staff salaries. The board approved a proposal from Carson Landscape in the amount of $100,080 for shrub removals, irrigation upgrades and repairs, and remediations at multiple locations in Zone 2. The board approved a proposal from Carson Landscape in the amount of $73,920 for shrub removals, irrigation, upgrades and repairs and remediations at multiple locations in Zone 6. Then the board met in executive session on September 24th. The board took the following actions. Peter Luiki was elected to the board due to a successful recall on September 18th. The board would like to welcome Peter on the board. Thank you. The board officer positions and committee liaison appointments are listed below. Me, the president, liaison to ILS committee. Vice President Cheryl Nelson, who is absent. Oh, she's on Zoom. And Treasurer Courtney Delphin, liaison to Finance Committee. Secretary Brian Coates, liaison to Architectural Committee. And member at large Peter Levicki is going to be the liaison to Grounds. And the board would like to thank Christina George for her outstanding service. The board met in executive session on September 30th. The board discussed and approved the insurance for 2025. Nicole will touch base on that in her manager report. And we had several resignations. Susan Timmer, former first finance chair, Tara Faust for finance committee, Jim Shaw Grounds Committee Chair, and Teresa McCracken, Secretary on the Grounds Committee. The board would like to thank everyone for their outstanding service. Thank you. Now we're going to the general manager report. Nicole?
I was hoping we can actually get a motion to officially, put all the
Oh.
positions and committees and stuff and just memorialize them in open session
Okay,
as well. I think
I'll
that's
make the
good.
motion to approve that. Hey, microphone.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Cheryl, can you hear me? I don't know if she's in a
I
vote.
vote aye.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And then I'll go into
Yeah, you're
my-
welcome. Okay. Your report.
Okay, so then I will go into my report here. So just a couple of things. As Marcus has stated, we did have a successful recall. Welcome, Peter. It's been a joy working with you so far. And then as Marcus also mentioned, we did have an insurance renewal. As most of you know, our master insurance policy renews on October 1st. So the board did approve that renewal. I had a lot of people that have asked me about a certificate of insurance or a disclosure page. Because we renewed so close to the renewal date, it's taking them a while to bind the documents. They're still in the underwriting process and doing all that. I'm expecting the disclosure and the certificates of insurance by next week. So I know some people are asking because they're having reverse mortgages or they have situations in their home, they're refinancing, whatever it may be, where they need the copy of an insurance. I am working on it. And the second I get it, I will send a mass comm out to the community with those attachments so that everybody has them, along with posting them on the website. If you have any issues after next week, you didn't receive the email, what have you, let me know. I'm happy to print you a copy or scan it to you, send it to you via email. Just let me know. And then the other just kind of side note is we did have a tree branch emergency happen, a couple weeks ago. And it turned out to be a costly phone call for something that was not an emergency. And so I'd really like if you guys call the customer care or you report things as an emergency, really ensure that it's a true emergency, because there's sometimes we go out and it's like the smallest branch that could have just been moved and it's not hurting anybody. And it could have waited until Monday, so to speak, for certain situations. So and it be as descriptive as possible when you call. So that's my kind of caveat.
Can you tell us how that process actually works? Who to call?
So if it's during office hours, obviously call us here. That's your first and foremost. But if
It
you're
always happens on the weekend.
always happens on a weekend. So your best bet is to call customer care. So what happens in these situations is First Service has a community manager that's always on call. So it won't be me, obviously, but there's people that always answer these calls and that will process the work orders on weekends when we're closed, so have you. But these people don't know Nepenthe specifically, obviously, right? So they're not going to know all the caveats here. They hear emergency and they're immediately going to dispatch somebody out here who's our vendor. And so we have a list of vendors that are in our system. So let's say for a tree, for instance, they automatically know that that's going to go to Grove. So we have systems in place where you call our call center and they'll reroute it to the appropriate people. And if you need our customer care number, ask me and I will give it to you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Reach down and call an emergency number, because my household did it a couple weeks ago, when a tree fell, a limb fell, blocking the entrance to our house. It was a weekday, but it was early in the morning before the Penthe's office was open. And the limb was blocking the entrance to the alley, the exit.
I would say if it's after hours, still call customer care because then they'll be able to contact Grove immediately prior to somebody coming on site. We could if we come on site, you know, but if it's already been hours at that point, you can't get out of your house, I would recommend that you would still call the call center if we're not open. Yeah.
Turned out that in the meantime, somebody had dragged the limb and made space enough so that cars could get out by driving over the lawn. So
Then I would not classify that as an emergency. So if people can still walk by it, they can drive by it, it's just kind of annoying for the time being, then that's something that you would report to the office. once
So
we
for
open.
each call out, it's $2,500. And so we try to avoid that if it's.
Is it an emergency or is it an inconvenience?
No, I mean.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So that's what we want to gauge. The cost is with the contractor. Yeah. There's no cost with First Service and it's already included in your contract with First Service that you can call the call center as much as you want. You don't get charged additionally for contacting First Service's call center.
my house made that call before the limb, so we thought we'd be able to leave in the morning and go to work.
Okay.
So that's why that call was made. But is it better to not have done that? Does it cost an extra $2,500 then? Somehow?
Yeah, I would, so my original thing would stand if it could be dragged away and it could just be moved out of the way, then yeah, I wouldn't constitute that as an emergency and I would just wait till the office opens.
We weren't exactly sure that calling them trees. An emergency situation. We also left a message on the voicemail here.
Okay.
So we just, it was clear to us as Long Island homeowners that starts a process that spends extra money that we really don't want to spend.
Yeah, if it's not an emergency, then just call the office here and leave a voicemail. And then the second we open, we'll get Grove out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, any questions about the general manager's report? Construction manager report?
Yeah, just fully into phase 2. It's going well. They seem to be going a little faster than they were going in phase 1. I think it's just because we've had nice weather and they're not delayed yet.
I think they have extra people now too, right?
They do have some extra people too. So phase 2 I imagine is going to go quicker than phase 1 did at their rate.
I have noticed, or Courtney and I have noticed, right? They have a lot less change orders.
And the price is a lot lower.
The prices seem to be lower too. I think those people took better care of their houses than the Dumbarton people. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not going to
hope
go
I
on
don't get
record
in
and say
trouble.
that.
No, I think they did a really good job identifying the issues before they started. The inspections were much more thorough, and so that's why we have less change orders. So,
And kind of just to piggyback on that real quick, I've heard some concerns that, you know, the office is not accurately reporting the schedule to people and that they're a month ahead. They're not a month ahead. They're like 5 days ahead right now. And the reason that the office hasn't reported that is because I would experience a fluctuation a week before, a week after, you know, that's going to be common in the schedule. And they're going to go right back schedule or behind schedule once it starts raining. So, and it will fluctuate. And if it's a true, like, you know, few weeks or a month, obviously the office is going to coordinate that. But I would ask the homeowners to give the office a little bit of grace here and, you know, realize that we're in this together and we're trying to communicate to you as well. So just a little note.
any questions? All right. Committee updates. Architectural Committee, Ellen.
This is on now. Good. Good evening. I'm Alan Waters, Chairperson of the Architecture Review Committee. This evening, our minutes for the month recommend approval of 2 routine applications, one for rebuilding a trellis and another one for installing solar tubes. There's a third one that is decidedly not routine. It is for solar generating panels, the photovoltaic system on a roof. And what's different about this is that this proposal is asking for a battery to be installed inside the garage. So far as I know, since Nepenthe started this process in about 2018, all of the solar generating panels that have been installed in Nepenthe, up to date, generate electricity and immediately give whatever excess electricity they have back to the electric utility immediately, or not back to, but it goes to the utility. This would store it in a battery. And I realized that Nepenthe, the board has not before approved a battery of this sort. It's to go in the garage on the inside. And so I felt that the committee really couldn't go ahead and recommend approval of this when the board has not yet vetted and approved this sort of an installation. So that's why the committee approved everything else on this application, but not the battery. We were hoping that the board would pay attention to this and think about it and bring whatever knowledge you may have about it to bear.
Is there any issue with the battery itself? Because I understand there was some sort of heating issue when it can heat up inside the garage.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't have any expertise in this.
Right.
Yes, apparently state law requires, I think I was just looking today, state law requires that a heat detector be, and thank you for the question, Brian, because I should have mentioned this, a heat detector installed in the garage above this battery. It is called a Tesla Powerwall 3. That is the manufacturer and the model. And the heat detector will be wired to the smoke alarm, audible smoke alarms inside the residence. So it'll make a sound in there if it should get too hot.
Right. And does it, if it gets too hot, will it automatically shut down?
I don't think anything will happen automatically,
Okay.
but I'm not certain because I haven't talked to the contractor.
So you said it's going to be wired to the smoke detector inside the house?
Yes.
So that's pretty easy if you have a attached garage. How are you going to do this if you have a detached garage?
I don't know.
So then that battery pack, on which it's going to be installed inside, right? Inside the garage. And if you have a attached garage to another house, typically that wall is fireproof. Are they going to put it specifically on that wall in that case, or would I just pick any walls?
This case, it will be on the wall that is exposed to open to the common area. So it's not up against the common wall with another garage next to it.
Is this
That's a good
going to
question.
be like a standard requirement that it's going to go on an outside wall, or is this going to be just all depends on the?
We hadn't thought that through. I don't know what risk there is. You know, Tesla gets a lot of publicity, and every time something bad, rather bad happens with a Tesla vehicle or Tesla batteries, it certainly makes the press and is well publicized. But these batteries are here and are in use, and this kind of system is going in. And Tesla's not the only manufacturer of such batteries, so it's an ongoing a new step in technology to have these batteries.
Is this even on our application form?
No, I think in the future, we're going to have to modify our applications to be able to include this, and maybe there's some couple other things out there, but we can talk about that at our ARC meeting.
No, that's why we're discussing it. It hasn't happened before, so all of this is new. There's a member of the
present here raising his arm. I don't know if it's in order to speak to him or let him speak at this time, but I'm sure Marcus sees him and knows this. What else was I going to say? I thought about consulting our construction manager to see if he had any wisdom about this. Obviously, this does require a permit. The city would issue a permit. The city has rules and would do inspecting about where the exterior hardware items go on the exterior of this garage wall. So far, it's proposed that they go inside the fence, behind the fence, which I don't have enough information, or I don't have the expertise to judge whether that's best or not. So far, I believe most of the ones that have been installed have the shutdown cutoff switch for the new solar generating system and the new SMUD meter on the wall external outside a fence so that it's visible and available to emergency personnel. But again, I'm sure that I'm be relying on the city's expertise in vetting something like this.
Any questions for Alan?
I'm not good with numbers. I just looked at things today and can tell you that they're limited by the state to be a single battery, 20 kilowatt per hour. I think it stores electricity. Yeah. It's a storage battery. Yeah. Yes.
Well, I guess that's something that we, the board and ARC needs to look a little bit more into it, because we're going to be facing that probably more and more with electric cars. Okay. Well, thank you, Alan.
Yes. I could just add, I looked at some, I can't really call it doing research, but articles in the press about various problems and fires, and found out that when some of these power walls had caught fire, and it was reported that the cause was not the manufacturer, said to be not the manufacturer of the Tesla, but the contractors, the installers who put them in and did something incorrect that later on led to overheating and causing, which I guess is not so different from anything else in our homes or offices or anything. We rely on installers to do things correctly. So I don't know. The board might want to consider checking with the Nepenthes insurers or legal, our attorney, to see if they have any recommendations or if it falls in line. I think it is probably endorsed by state law that, well.
Okay.
So Alan, so should we investigate having certain contractors be able to install these, like those that may have certifications from Tesla or something? I don't know. Is that?
I don't know how many contractors there are who do this. This contractor, it's in the minutes. I have trouble naming it now. It's an international company with an office in Texas. Illumin E-I. I hadn't heard of them before. They're also new to us.
Right, I see it here.
So I believe they specialize in this. I mean, this is, there's a great deal of information, a number of data sheets and spec sheets with the application, and I'm not an electrical engineer and can't make much headway out of any of them.
Well, okay. Thank you, Alan. Lots of
Okay.
information here. Maybe that's something that the board needs to discuss in the future, and maybe we need to task you guys a little bit with some more information at one point, working together with the board. So,
The board and committee would like to work further together. In terms of this this application, if I hear from the applicant, the homeowner, shall I just tell him that it's still being worked on and not yet decided?
well, you were saying you contacted the insurance company, didn't you?
Yeah, there's no risk necessarily from a legal insurance standpoint, but we still, I think, need guidelines in place and such as that. So I would say affirm the committee's recommendations where they do partial approval except for the battery until we can cross that bridge.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone just needs to motion to approve all of his recommendations here.
A motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Heard you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Outreach Committee, Marcy Best.
Hello, I'm Marcy Best, Outreach. We have a super new event coming up on Saturday. It will be our first artist and craft show. And right now we have about 16 vendors signed up. And so we're excited about that. This is an experiment. So we're hoping it goes well. Unfortunately, the weather has decided to go back to hot. So it still is going to be from 2 to 5. Hopefully by the pool, it'll be just a little cooler. But please come out and support these folks. This is what they do when you can't see them. They are busy being craft people. And we just have so many of them. And it's amazing to me that we don't know about them. So the next thing is Halloween. That'll be on October 26th. It will be a little different this year. We have some new ideas, some new games for kids to play. So please gather up your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors' kids, and dress up and come join the fun. And then the other thing we have is we have a Bunko night in November, I believe. My sidekick's not here to tell me. And that's about it for us right now. Any questions?
Any questions?
Questions?
Well,
Nope.
thank you very much, Marcy. Thank you. ILS Committee, I did see Jackie somewhere on Zoom. Oh,
Yeah, there, I unmuted myself. We had our meeting via email, because Ricardo thought it would be more fun to be in Honduras rather than at our committee meeting. And basically we recommended the proposals for the alarm buzzer and the fencing around the main pool and the Dunbarton pool, which the board approved. So that's pretty much it. We really don't have any new business. So if anyone has any suggestions for us, that would be great. Thank you.
any questions? Well, thank you, Jackie, for that great proposal, thorough research, and that terribly bad picture that that you guys drew on that fence, but it worked out well. It was perfect. So thank you.
Great.
Um,
Leslie.
Grounds Committee, well, we have no chair, so you're up, Peter.
I don't even know what to say. I guess want to thank Teresa and Jim for their service, and we'll miss you. And I have no other updates. I guess our next meeting is what day, do you know?
Not off the top of my
No.
head,
Okay,
but I'll be there.
all right. So will I. Look forward to it.
Any questions? No questions. All right. Finance Committee, Carol Duke.
Behind me tonight.
Carol Duke, Finance Committee. So you've all seen the forecast proposal that we've done on the reserve study and seen the explanation around that. And the Finance Committee chose to leave similar amounts for the accounts around trees and the accounts around landscaping plants as we have had this year for next year and moving forward. So we won't see any changes in what our landscape looks like. Additionally, we will be doing normal processes to track variances, as most companies and organizations should do. And we will be doing that through 2025 and onward, so that if there is an ongoing variance that is a negative variance, we can do a deep dive into that and identify whether that's something that we need to look at and advise the board on or not. So we'll be paying close attention to that. And most companies and most organizations should do that. We really haven't done that in the past here. So any questions?
Questions here? All right. Well, thank you, Carol. Okay, homeowner correspondence. Any questions on that from the board? No questions, all right. Homeowner comment, correspondence, any questions on that from the board? Nope, okay. New business, we need to approve that.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, yes, we need to approve it.
Yes, you need to
I'll
approve it
make the
or
motion.
deny it.
I'll
Make
make
a-
the motion to approve it.
Okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Heard you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Okay. Now we are coming to the homeowner forum.
No, you still have open session
Oh, I'm
minutes,
sorry.
recall
So,
session
yeah,
minutes, and the
I'm sorry.
financial
Yeah,
statement.
the open session, we need to approve that from September 4th. And well, the recall election minutes on September 18th. And the financial statement, August 2024. Do we want to approve any of this or all at once? I'll make the motion to approve it all.
To approve all three items
three.
B, C, and D.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Heard you, Cheryl. Thank you.
How did? Oh, you did? Okay.
She does it in a millisecond and then remutes
yeah.
herself. I want
All right.
more.
Okay. Okay.
Now you're in homeowner.
So now
forum.
homeowner forum. Anybody on my left? Oh, Don Pearson. Then you next.
Donald Pearson, 116 Dunbarton. I don't know what your protocol is, so we're figuring it out on the fly. I've had a work order that's been pending with regard to landscaping for over 3.5 months, and I thought it was to be an action item for you all tonight. And apparently that's not going to be the case, so maybe I'll lay it out for potential action item tomorrow. My house has kind of looked like Tobacco Row for about 6 months, while other people's houses look like demonstration gardens for nurseries, and you know who you are. But I'm not here for that today. The work, a minimal amount of work was finally done at my house within the last 2 weeks, some planting and some perimeter rocks. And Carson let me know that they were instructed to put down ornamental bark. I asked them to stop. They refused. I talked to Nicole. She got them to stop, and that's what I'm here today. The only, this doesn't need to go to the grounds committee anymore, I believe, because it's all been completed except for simply the issue of ornamental bark. And some of you know that I'm a strong advocate against that. And some of you know about my experience with my homeowner's insurance this year. It started out, I got a random notice from Nationwide Insurance. I've been with Nationwide and Allied for close to 25 years, that they were going to do a randomly selected safety inspection of my house, exterior safety inspection. And I called them and asked, could we schedule this? No, we're not going to let you know when we come, but my patio gate is locked. Doesn't matter. The inspector will let us know if we need you to unlock it. And that was it. But don't be alarmed if some strange person is taking pictures of your house. So I asked them, my siding needs a lot of repair and it's scheduled to get siding repair done by the association this year. Would that be a problem? Yes, sir, it absolutely would be. So I contacted Paul Reeves and Paul came over with Mike, the superintendent from Critical Path, who's unfortunately no longer with us. And Mike and Paul looked at my house. Paul shook his head. Basically, he can identify the insurance companies that he deals with insurability issues on at least other associations that he works for. I think I asked him if he'd had any other complaints with issues with Nepenthe, and I think he said no at that time. So Paul fortunately moved me up in the queue, and my repair and painting work was done quite well, I believe. And the inspection happened, the insurance inspection happened. It must have happened after the siding because I didn't get a comment about the siding. And by the way, there's strike one of having to move the siding work up. Then the inspection finally happens and I get a notice that basically I'm going to be canceled because of plant material on my roof. Again, I contacted Paul, and thanks to good work by Nicole and Paul and Mark Edelman at Advanced Roofing, Advanced came out, cleaned my roof. Many photographs later, I felt like Arlo Guthrie or something, and a copy of the invoice to Nepenthe. Nationwide finally sent me a letter and said, okay, you're okay for now. They wouldn't tell me it was going to be renewed or anything else. It's just you're off the hook for now. I thought everything was okay. And then I got a letter from the personal umbrella department of Nationwide, who notified me that they were canceling my personal umbrella insurance because they no longer had underlying coverages with them. And so I'm a smart guy. I know insurance coverage. I've got a lot of experience. I got it worked out. But what happened is, the reason is the homeowners insurance department had notified the personal umbrella department that they were canceling me, and they didn't bother to notify them that I had cleared the problem with the help of the folks here. So that's strike two. I don't want to strike three. And the next step will be all of that ornamental bark that's being put down throughout our community right now. And whatever anybody else thinks about it, I'm certainly willing to help you and share some of the work I've done and everything else. I don't know in what manner or how to do that procedurally, but I can't have it put down at my house because I'm not going to go through yet another episode. If I get another one of these random exterior safety inspections this year, I did get my whole package renewed for one more year at least. Then I'm not going through that mess again. And we've got to be very careful to not have insurance risks created by my homeowners association and not attended to properly that jeopardize my insurance. So I have a proposal to make to the board, and I'm assuming that procedurally you need to consider this and make it an action item for the next meeting. The bark is not being put down. There's 3 areas, basically the front of my house and 2 areas in the back adjacent to fences that are connected to my house. There's some rock back there now, but no bark. And if you'll get a quote from Carson, I have some cost estimates myself from just buying at retail at Home Depot. But if you get a quote from Carson and it makes sense to me to put something else down, and I'll show it to you all in a minute, I'll pay for it. You can bill me for it and I'll pay for it. And what I propose is, this isn't Shark Tank, so I don't have a sample for everybody.
Looks like brownies to me. Huh.
And a couple pieces of the brand new ornamental bark that's been put down. And Nicole can just keep this at the office for anybody who would like to look at it. I've got that as a ground cover on my patio. It's been there for at least 10 years. It's doing fine. I did a little bit of research on it. You don't want to use it for a fire pit because it's porous And if it gets water in there and the water gets to a boiling point, the rocks might pop. But even with global warming, I don't think we're that point yet with landscaping rock. It's so close in appearance to the bark, and to the extent that we need to have ground cover and everything else, so much better of an alternative. By the way, retail price, it costs about half what the you call that the multicolor rock that's being used now, the polished rock.
The Berry Creek.
Yeah, it's about half. The retail price is about half of what that is. So to me, it's a ready and available alternative where you all feel that there needs to be some ground cover to using the ornamental bark. And I'll renew my offer if any of you would like to meet with me in a manner that complies with Davis Sterling and everything else to discuss the ornamental bark issue. I'll certainly be glad to do that. I'm conscientious about not creating a record, a risk record, but there we go.
A question about the insurance. I have Nationwide myself, and this was the policy, the H6, the condo policy.
I do not have the condo policy, and there's a different distinction there. I came down and reviewed. I'm a private judge, and I've been an attorney for almost 50 years. I know insurance coverage up one side and down the other. And I came down, it's been a few years back, and reviewed the blanket policy. And for 3 or 4 significant reasons, I choose not to rely on it. And I carry my own independent homeowners policy. My home is detached, which may have an impact on my ability to get that coverage. But the homeowners were not named insureds on the policies like they were supposed to be under the governing documents. The insured amount was about half replacement value instead of full replacement value as required by the governing documents. And that's too much to me, but that's what the documents call for. And there were, I think, a couple other, it was a commercial policy, not a homeowners association policy form that was being used. If it's still farmers, I do cases with hear cases with all the insurance companies, and farmers is fine as far as I'm concerned. But I chose to not rely on it. So I basically paid double because there's a clause in the blanket policy that for every $1 of coverage I have that overlaps, it takes away $1 of coverage from the blanket policy. So basically, I get no benefit on my own individually owned lot and improvements from the blanket policy. But I think that you could well find the same problem for people that have condo policies. And by the way, adjudicating the losses, I think, would be done a lot quicker and simpler if there weren't 2 different insurance companies involved in dealing with the fire losses and everything. But I think you'll see the same thing. It's a very difficult insurance market in California right now. Those of us in real estate know that. And there's no doubt in my mind that Nationwide Insurance was simply looking for a way to improve their portfolio. And they picked out me, who's never had a claim on that policy, to be one of the ones that they went after. And there we go. So I apologize for being long-winded, but
Oh, interesting information. Appreciate it. Thank you.
But I think the same problem would come up for the folks that have the condo policies also with the insurance companies. And Paul Reeves can tell you the carriers that he's had to deal with insurability issues with for his various HOAs.
Okay.
And I worry about the blanket policy too, because it covers all my friends and neighbors, and it covers our common area improvements also. And there's, wasn't St. Charles Place or something like that there?
Yeah,
Their policy was canceled.
Correct, Village 5.
Yeah. So all the insurance, we can't move our houses out of the state. And the insurance companies are looking for ways to improve their portfolios here. So there we go.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Maybe next, they can talk about my proposal, and maybe next month we could make it an action item then. I still don't know.
Yeah, it will be an action item just as a discussion because the bark concern is more than just you. So it's gonna be an action item. Yeah.
John Baker.
Thank you, Marcus. John Baker. Many of us are dismayed by the resignations from the Finance Committee. Two very experienced and qualified individuals have quit right at the time when the budget has to be put together. As I recall, we need to finalize the budget very soon so that we can notify owners of their new assessment. And we haven't heard anything. So where are we?
I don't know why you're looking at me.
I'll answer that. We are in the middle of budget season, as you know, and we have just finished getting some bids or not bids, but final costs for some very significant items in the budget, in the operating budget particularly. So with that information, we're going to move forward to make some adjustments to the reserve study, make some adjustments based on the new information we have to the operational budget, and we hope to have a budget-only meeting in October. Mid-October is what we're shooting for.
As I recall, 1 November is about the latest you can do because you have notifications you to do.
So per civil code, the budgets have to be mailed 45 days prior to fiscal year end. So that would fall November 15th. I don't ever like to go that close. I don't even like to do November 1st. So we're really
Well,
shooting for
and-
October approval.
You know, around the 1st of November, you're gonna have to tell people what they're faced with.
Correct, which is why I like to go sooner rather than later. If there's increases or any changes, people can prepare for those. So, yes.
Thank you, John. Anybody over here?
John.
Anybody else? No, okay. Anybody over here? Nancy?
Hi, everyone. Nancy Cochran, 1427 Commons Drive. The issue that I want to bring up and ask the board to think about and talk about is who pays for damage caused by contractors hired by the homeowners association. During the ongoing siding project, there have been a number of homeowners who have approached the office with issues of drywall cracks, as well as pieces of drywall falling off of their walls on the inside of their home. And those individuals have basically been told that nothing can be done and that they are responsible for repairs. This is a completely different situation than you damaging the inside of your home on your own. This is a situation that there is damage that is caused by the contractors who have been hired by the board. So basically, this is a cause and effect situation. But for the contractors doing the work, in this situation, the siding work, all of the pounding, and they're doing a great job, don't get me wrong on that. But when their work creates damage on the inside of certain homeowners' homes, who is responsible for paying for that repair? So I'm asking the board the following. Are there specific provisions within the CC&Rs that we currently have that speak specifically to this issue? In other words, does it say in our CC&Rs that any contractor hired by the board to do exterior work is not liable or responsible for damage caused on the inside of someone's home? If that language is absent, then we need to go to the next step, which is, can Nepenthe's Homeowners Association insurance cover the cost of those repairs? Now, we're in a situation where there's been a lot of money that's been spent and a lot of money that's being talked about. So that's probably not a very attractive issue or position. But if not, if not Nepenthe, then what about the contractor's insurance company? This is not negligent work. This is not damage caused by negligence, but it is damage nonetheless. And if you're living in a house that has now cracks in your drywall over your window headers, you have cracks in your entryway because of all of the pounding that was done on the outside, and you actually have chunks of drywall that have fallen off into your home because of that work, someone should really take a look at who is responsible for taking care of that. Now, perhaps the contractor's insurance would cover a claim, but people have been coming and seeking help and advice, and they're being told nothing we can do.
Okay, can I ask a question? This is honestly the first time that I've heard about this. We've heard, or I have heard about nails in tires and bushes damaged and so on and so forth. But this really surprises me. And I'm kind of the one who is involved in this. And this is like news for me. Have you heard any of this? Has anybody written in on this? Anybody said anything?
I've heard little bits and pieces about this. I don't think I was the one that spoke to you, but I'm semi-familiar, and typically the association's not responsible. It's the contractors that are ultimately responsible. I'd have to check the verbiage in our contracts and things like that to if they're held responsible for these things. So that's something that I can look at in the contract and move forward. Because I know with Carson and even CPR, there has been instances where they have caused damage and they personally work it out with the owner and, you know, make it right and do it on that end. So I wouldn't believe that this falls on the homeowner association whatsoever. I would stand by that still, but I'd have to look at the contract to see how you would hold that contractor liable, because that's the route I believe that you would go through, that the contractor would ultimately be responsible for that.
Well, that could be the route that you go through, but I think you all need to check out which route you're going to go through.
Yeah.
Because if there's language specific to it in the CCNRs, then the homeowner is the responsibility falls on the homeowner, right? If there is specific language saying that a contract.
Again, I'm not arguing with you at all on this part, really. I'm stunned. As I said, I've heard all kinds of stuff. I've had a nail in my car and whatnot.
Right.
But I have never heard, and even Paul Reeves has never brought this up. So anybody that is listening here, if you guys have concerns like this, please let the office know. If the office knows, please let the board know, and maybe we need to discuss this, regardless what the outcome will be. But this is certainly something, if we are not aware of something like that, we can't do anything.
Well, I am aware that one of my neighbors has this very problem and turned in a service request, and they were told that it was too late to add it to this board's agenda. So it will be should be on next month's agenda for your review. The only reason that I'm bringing it up in this forum is so that it gives you ample time to research it, figure out, is it the homeowners association? And I only say that because you hired the contractor. So if there isn't specific language in the CCNRs that puts the responsibility back on the homeowner, then it's either going to be you or it's going to be the contractor. And either way, I just think that people want to be able to fix their homes and not have to pay out of pocket when it was not something that was originally, they didn't hire the contractor to do it. And I don't think it's fair for those repairs to fall onto the shoulders of the homeowner and not have the board be responsive to that. So I appreciate knowing that you have not yet heard of it. So now you have.
I hear all kinds of things in this neighborhood, but this is something new. So thank you for letting us know, and we'll work on that. Thanks. Anybody else on this side? Okay, now anybody on Zoom? Nobody. All right. Meeting adjourned.